And we are live. So, hello and welcome everybody to the State of the Empire for today is the 12th of October 2019. I'd like to thank everybody who chose to attend today. We got a good turnout. Looks like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 dozen people. That's not bad to get into a voice channel all at once. As always, we're going to start with welcoming the new members that we've gotten to register to the website in the past 7 days. And these are in no particular order. Fayborn, Novasefix? Whatever. I ain't even playing with this. Atom Sticks, Skunkwork, Marstay, Spectrum, Decan, Metaxia, Name Barrel, Famtonk 14, Curtis Blow, KFAL, Liquid Mantis, Tavin 1974, Jade, Spasmatic Asthmatic, Wooze, Dinglepogs, Arachnidia C, and D. Jericho. I just want to say that I hate about half of the names listed here because they were clearly not designed to be pronounced by any being of this plane of existence. That being said, nonetheless, welcome to all of you. If you are new and did not hear your name called, it means you have not registered on the website at Kaldara Empire. Was it .com or .net? Which should I go with again?
.com.
I did
.com.
go with the .com. All right. Wonder if that's technically appropriate. So if you haven't registered at KaldaranEmpire.com and submitted your mobile infantry application, you don't show up in these lists, and the moment you do, you'll be in the next week. That being said, don't have a whole lot to announce this week. Um, I do have one promotion to announce, and that is the promotion of our resident Serbian Frank to O2 with his taking over of the 7th Legion. So, a round of applause for Frank, who cannot be here due to time zones. I know, no push to talk, metaphorical applause. Deal with
Yep. Applause. Woo.
it. Woo! All right.
For those who don't know, if you're case and wondering, 7th Legion is our connection into Warframe.
So, with that being said, I'd like to congratulate the 2nd Legion on filling up to the point that I've had to shut off their recruitment valve. I'd like to congratulate the 1st Legion on also filling up quite considerably to the point where we're genuinely trying to figure out who we can get to take over another Legion for Destiny because things are filling up quickly. So I'd like to put an official thanks to everybody who's been involved in our recruitment efforts, from spreading the word with friends, bringing in people you know, putting in the effort to post on the Steam discussions, subreddits, Facebook groups, etc., etc., etc. Of course, Frodo and myself have been going at it quite hard. I notice our newest officer, Warhead, took a lot of initiative and has been also pushing on the Steam discussions. And I would like to say that the 4th Legion is actually doing quite well right now. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up, and 17 members, and that's after they wiped all their old, so that's 17 currently alive and active people, with more on the way, I'm sure. So I expect that the 4th Legion should be starting to take off soon. The 3rd Legion is likely going to be repurposed into a Destiny Legion once we have the question of future leadership for the 1st Legion fully squared away and settled. we do still need somebody who is willing to step up and take on the role of the First Legion CO somewhere in the near future, as Claytor has announced his intention to step down. He's been kind enough to hold on to the position until such a time as we can fill his spot, which we do appreciate. Frodo, did you have anything you'd like to add?
Not off the top of my head that I can think of. I only having just got back yesterday, I haven't had been able to give any time to actual thought to what bring to the soap. Um, yeah, no, give me a minute
All right. Well,
if you have anything to.
while you
Yep.
take that minute, I'm going to go ahead and open the floor to everybody present. If anybody would like to offer questions, comments, concerns, now is the time.
I don't have anything.
Yes, Jericho.
Well, I mean, is it just general like observation or
Yeah,
stuff like?
anything that you'd like to go on the record, anything you'd like answered, any observations you have to make about the group so far, any suggestions you have to improve anything, it's just open forum time.
Gotcha. Give me 1 sec. Okay. So pretty much just my side. I've been here for a week finally, so kind of gotten to get used to how everybody is around here, and I can say I have the least amount of brain cells out of anybody here, which is an achievement in my own, or its own, I guess. For everyone that's here, thank you guys. Hazard, I know I play with you a lot. Now, Jim, I've hung out with you a couple times. So all the people that I hang out on a regular basis, thank you. I appreciate it. Um, I get on when I can, and raids and stuff. If I know it, I try and help the people that can't do them or don't fully understand them. So, also, offer is always on the table. If you ever want to talk, you're having a bad day, shit like that, let me know. I'm a good person to talk to.
Thanks, man.
Which that actually brings up to the point, since I wasn't here for the last State of the Empire, and I haven't been here, really been around since the massive growth after Shadowkeep drop. For those who may or may not know, me and Atomic here have a very open door policy. So if you ever have issues going on, whether it's Kaldara related or personally related, um, and you need to get off your chest, we got the venting channel. If you want to vent and have everyone's opinion, or if you want to open DMs and keep it a private matter. We haven't had to do that very often, but there's a couple of members here, a couple instances where we've had private conversations with some of our members because they needed to get certain things off their chest. So my DMs are always open, whether you want to shoot the shit or uh, you need something, there's something important, personal to talk about. I'm always here. And if I'm not there immediately, don't think I'm ignoring you. I'm just haven't looked at my DMs yet. On another note, for those who want to actually step up for the officer position of first CO, just remember you need to make sure you're registered to the website, uh, application submitted, so on and so forth, before we can push you up to that process. I think that's about what all I have to say right now. Like I said, I haven't been around for the past week and a half, so I don't know what's really been going on other than what I could see when I got a little bit of signal.
All right. I'd like to say the Seventh Legion is starting to see its recruitment opening back up with Frank at the head. It's going well. Eighth Legion has been recruiting from in-game, but has not made a whole lot of success getting those people into Discord. So we'll have to figure something out for that, as it's one of those games that does benefit more from in-game than out-of-game recruitment. But the trade-off for that is securing people into the Discord is a bit more difficult. Beyond that, we're always looking at other games we can open up and expand into. So if anybody has recommendations, has games that they're particularly interested in, you can feel free to let us know now, later, whenever works for you. We're a fairly flexible lot around here.
When it comes to other games, my only query is like, does it have to be like specifically like competitive multiplayer shooter type games, or
No.
can it be
Negative.
open to something? Sorry, so it can be open to something like a little bit more banal, like um, board game simulator or whatever. I can't remember the name of it, or stuff like Jackbox or Cards Against Humanity. Because I like the idea of having like a little space for that, just for people to like shoot the shit.
I
It's a nice little icebreaker, I think. And in general, I just
I
think
think
they're pretty
it's a
fun.
don't
cool
see
idea,
any
but we
issue.
don't have anything.
Not exactly the sort of thing we could particularly build a legion around or see a whole lot of recruitment from, but definitely something we can keep on offer for people in the group, yeah.
Yeah, there could just be a little like miscellaneous chat room for other games, like little casual games.
Yeah, I think we could probably work on to like a general voice channel, or get a
Yeah,
couple of those going.
that's generally like where my suggestions or observations would be. It's mostly just like I like the idea of creating one or two more different little spaces for more activities, and also the other suggestion I have is, considering that we're getting a massive influx of new players,
Uh-huh.
I like the idea of setting up a tab somewhere in the Calderon Empire to just pin every video, graphic, any educational piece of whatever, be it like tutorials for new players if they need to learn something about like how to do raids or how to get start the Islandi's Burden quest or
Okay.
something like that.
Slightly cut you off there. I hate to do this. The problem is, you're like, yes, we're bringing people in, but most of these players are still new. They're still trying to get a grasp of the game. They're they're not going to be ready to jump into the Discord at the time. Now, I'm not saying we can't have a spot where we pin all these videos, but to tag them into them every time they join the server.
No. I don't think he's saying to necessarily tag new people when they join the server, but to offer some place that is just a collection of knowledge and useful information,
Like
so
a
that
tips and tricks
so that new
channel.
people have have access to that collection. And I don't think that that's a bad idea in the least either.
That are, sorry, apologies, that are like some sort of additional FAQ for like the very common questions that people have about the game, because in fairness, it's not entirely forgiving for new players. There is like an absolute massive wealth of like new stuff that they're surrounded with, and I do understand that it is pretty overwhelming at first.
Yeah, so we'll have to do a little bit of checking in to see how that would work, what form that would take, especially as we start branching into multiple games. The idea that we're going to have all of that information compiled for multiple different games, that starts to become something that maybe we just section a portion of our website and use that as a dumping point for information, just so that it's in
Yep.
a more fixed location, and then we create some place that we could direct people to that literally just contains a couple of basic things and a link to the section of the site in question for more info. I'm not sure exactly what form it's going to take. That's just something I can come up with off the top of my head, but it's definitely something that we'll look into getting sorted out, because it is overall a good idea. It's just a question of what form is it going to take.
Fair.
see. Yeah, beyond that, like I said, we'll need some people to step up to potentially seize some power for the First Legion, and we'll need to see who has it in them to potentially run New Legion. Because, whew, man, all this growth. This is some growth, that is for sure. Discord's still up over 400 people. I've noticed something about people will just join the Discord and immediately leave. That's a little annoying to me. But, not much to be done. Anything else anybody would like to bring up? Alright, I'm going to take that as a big fat no.
Yeah, sounds about it.
Let me just review my notes here.
Oh, and remember, guys, if as you're playing around, playing with other guys, and you see people putting in hard work, or you're putting in hard work, don't be afraid to speak up for, hey, I feel like I deserve a promotion if we've skipped you. If that's the case, DM us with a decent reason why, and then we'll definitely consider it. Or if you speak up if you feel like someone else deserves a promotion as well, because me and Atomic do like putting people through the ranks. So if you feel like you deserve to go up, hit us with a DM. If you feel like someone else deserves to start going up, hit us with a DM of who should be going up. And yeah, because the more the merrier.
All solid points, I would say. I don't have anything else special to announce as of yet. I know we were discussing in the officer chat about finding new ways to help explain raids to people so that those don't become the long, protracted affair that they've been. I don't know if Hax would like to speak on the subject or not.
Hacks.
Yes.
Would you like to
Oh,
speak
yes.
on
He's not very
Yeah.
good at taking cues, this one.
No, I was too busy shoving a sniper up something.
This guy would be late to his own funeral.
I would. No, I was bringing up that if that instead of explaining the raid within doing the raid, which would just escalate it to like 2, 3, 4 hours for a raid that's like a 30-40 minute raid. Instead, have the person hosting the raid get everybody into a private call or a call on the server if you can screen share in servers now, and have everyone together and watch a walkthrough and an explaining of the raid so everyone knows exactly what it is when they're going in and what weapons should be used throughout the whole encounters.
I
I think
agree.
that's a good idea. I
Yeah,
like
that's what
that
I
as
was
well
trying
because
to
I
do.
tried to host stuff and had some of the same problems.
You mean like educational streams?
Pretty much, yeah, educate the non-experienced people so they have an idea of what to do when they go in. They're not completely blind doing it.
Personally, I think that's more of a on their own type of thing. Like I'm cool with like teaching people, but if you wanted to actually separate it to where like people are able to, get on, everybody knows what they're doing and going, just instead of just saying, hey, six looking for a raid, looking for a raid or whatever, just say beginner raid or like expert raid, like if you know it, you know what I mean? Like you know how to do it, it's going to get done within an hour, hour and a half because you're not going to fuck up as much. But if it's brand new to people, that's the one that takes longer. So I think just kind of determining like where everybody's level is at before you get into it could help a lot. And then kind of with I forgot who mentioned the excuse me, the tips and tricks thing. But maybe just having that somewhere, having a channel that goes to the website, like, hey, Destiny raids, and just have literally just the guides posted. Not doesn't have to be made by us, just in general, of the Google search or whatever the case, just so people that are like, coming into it and they're brand new to it, they at least know, okay, so I can go here, find the information, watch this for 2 hours, doing whatever, and then I know what I'm doing for the next raid. Obviously, until you get hands on, it's going to be different, but at least they have an idea of what they're doing and not just randomly, okay, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, I think the For Dummies guide on raids is a good thing to just kind of shill in general. They are good and useful videos, in my experience. So,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I do like the idea, though, of the separation of talking about your experience level. I think that is something that would benefit us. And that's some of what we're lacking, where this problem's coming in. Um, and if you know that if someone's a beginner, it may be better to try and do a like beginner type raid, or to have something grouped up where it's more of a learning experience than trying to get 4 people who are trying to get it done as quick as possible and having 2 people there that don't know what the hell they're doing, because it can be hard to get people on the same level if they haven't taken the time to learn it before. So it's, yeah, like the I guess the thing is, how do we create that separation? Just maybe requiring before starting a raid what experience level the raid might be in, or things for now, and then having that information available for people to go to. Because I just usually shared a link, and it's like, well, we're gonna take a 35, 45-minute break. Everyone needs to watch this video because we're not gonna beat it. And then we would do that, and then by the time that would be done, some people would have to leave and stuff. And it's like, well, all right, well, now we need to find somebody else, and that
Right.
person may not know what they're
One
doing either, or know where they're hopping in at, or things like that. So I think maybe just like having a little bit more structure to the way that we schedule raids will help a lot, just to kind of let people know which kind of level they're getting into.
Right, and then to kind of follow up on what Coda was saying, obviously everybody knows a raid's going to take between at least an hour to 2.5, 3 hours, depending on the severity and everything. So, I think one good way to also kind of separate it is, some people will be like, oh, I can do it for like an hour and a half and then I gotta go. Those probably not have them in like the quote unquote main raid. So like if me, Emperor, Frodo, Hazard, like if all of us set up, hey, us four, we're gonna be getting on at we'll say 2200 EST tomorrow for a raid. I need 2 more experienced people. We call that out. All 4 of us have set aside the time to do that, and then the other 2 people need to set aside the time for it. And if they don't have the time where they're like, oh, I only have an hour and a half, then at that point it should just become a pickup raid instead of like one that's actually scheduled, because the scheduled ones need to, or not need to, but should be very structured in that aspect. So like, hey, I'm on this one, I'm on this, I'm on this, whatever, stuff like that. And there's a lot of ways to structure it and all that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the D2 raids, unlike Destiny 1, where you could just pick up and get into the raid and be done within 30 to 45 minutes, the D2 raids are not as time friendly as its predecessors, or as its predecessor game. So when constructing a raid, it's usually the biggest, one of the biggest things we've been talking about since we kind of went live with Kaldara last year in Destiny 2, is when doing raids, scheduling the time, because most of these raids, with most of us not knowing how to do one of these raids, we're gonna have a hard time. It's going to be time consuming, so you're going to be able to need to make sure that time is set aside and that's for a lot of reasons why people have a lot of issues here, because we can't not majority of us are 18 plus, have a job, school, whatever, and we can't just drop to put into a raid. So my suggestion is to a lot of guys here is like, hey, when you're making a raid or trying to set up a raid, do realize that most of us need to be able to set the appropriate amount of time aside to do said raid or learn said raid.
So, this is in large part why I'm trying to start filling in the Legion's command structures again. The entire idea is to have at least one person within each Legion whose job it is to plan raids and events and get things scheduled and organized, so that it's not left to one person for the entire group to try to organize all of this, and so that it's not a case of it's nothing but just pickup raids. Because so far it's primarily been pickup raids. I don't think I've seen too many people scheduling, say on Monday, that they're going to do a raid at X time on Sunday, you know?
Side note: if you go to the D2 general chat, something like that. Obviously, that's not like the formulated, but something close to.
So that's what I was just working up in a quick pad as well. So we were kind of thinking similar things. I was just formatting it like a form for the sake of figuring out what the hell to do with it.
Because it looks a lot better.
Yeah.
I like the idea of the raid workshops, like what you guys were saying, where you get like 2 to 4 experienced players and a couple of newer players. Uh, but in the interest of structure and in the interest of making just in general making the thing work, I'm thinking of the idea of getting like some sort of form for people to fill out if they're like really if they're like semi serious about doing the raid, but mostly just one that like provides a link to the guide of said raid, and just for them to like say, yes, I have watched this video, I'm not going into this like completely blind, because that is a little bit frustrating to work with in the
Right.
eyes
Yeah.
of someone who's been
Like almost like
trying
a
to like.
registration process where
I
if
like
someone
I
wants to do
like
a
the
raid.
idea. I really like the idea. The only discrepancy that I have with it is that at that point, like I'm, for example, like let's say I'm streaming, right? So I'm streaming, I have D2 up. Okay, now I have to go and, we planned it 2 days ahead. Everything's ready to go. Now I have to go make sure everything's set up, and I need to like double check it. Like if you don't actually know what's going on, like most people are going to be honest. Hey, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. You know what I mean? Not a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh yeah, I've totally done this." Dies 3 times in the first fucking event. You sure? So I mean, I want to say it goes off of honor, which a lot of people seem to have. I don't think that we've had an issue where someone is like, well, I've done it, but I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, at that point, you don't know what you're doing. That's fine. Or they're like, yeah, I totally know what I'm doing, and then literally die every single time. So I think while it's a good idea, I think having the requirement of going to a whole nother I guess forum or a checklist, I think kind of devaluates the purpose of having them structured, because at that point you might as well just have them be signups on the website. You know what I mean?
Well, that was number one. I'm not sure we're talking about the same thing on that one, but that actually does bring me into my next point. How would people feel about setting up a specific set in the website forums on our end and literally just create, I want to run, X raid somewhere around X time on X day. Yes, I'm aware that those are technically the same variable. Disregard. I'm using X as generic variable. Fuck off. Um,
Like a request almost. It's like, hey, I'm
basically,
requesting a group.
in a sense, yeah. It's like, look, I want to put together a raid for this time. I'd like, roughly this level of experience or whatever, and people would just come in and post like, hey, I can do X time. Here's my level of experience.
If you did that on the
Probably
Discord
could,
instead of the
but
website, I'd be behind it just because Discord's a lot more accessible. And if people are at work or away from their computer and stuff like that, all they have to do is check it and be like, hey, at here or whatever. And they can just be like, oh, okay, cool. I want to do this tonight. You know what I mean?
So here's the problem: is I'm talking about like a week, like setting up a series of weekly scheduled raids as opposed to like pick up and put down raids. Where we'd also
but
have like the pickup
filling time
raids
slot.
as well. But the thing about Discord is you drop a message. Let's say it's, let's pretend it's Wednesday. You drop a message saying that you want to put together a raid group for Sunday. The problem that happens with that, in my humble experience, is it very quickly gets buried under all the other posts.
I understand what you mean. So then, can we do like a chat where we can state like, okay, the same format you put for the raid before, that we could put a chat that we will only put like that stuff in and raid stuff.
I've also considered that. I'm just not sure how effective it's going to be and what we're going to have to set up to make it work as intended. I just get the feeling that the flow of random chit chatter spreads everywhere in Discord, whereas it's not as disruptive in a forum posting environment. I'm not married to any one idea right now, by the way. I'm just trying to think through the pros and cons of everything. Let me be clear on that.
I actually have another thought on the matter. What if, I mean, it's highly unlikely and it probably needs a lot of planning, but what if we have a set day for like raiding, say like every Saturday, like a few leaders will host raids and they will just pre-announce that I will be hosting this raid this Saturday, and you go to him to sign up for it, and then it will happen. So unlike, say, if you just post a Discord message, it's like I want to run a raid on this day. It's more organized. Like people know that that raid is going to happen like every Saturday, and we can even have a chat for that. Just say like them announcing like this raid will happen on Saturday. We have this much people here, and if you're interested, if you're experienced, if you're like this one's for fresh people, kind of something like that. Maybe I don't know. It'll be hard to set up though.
I think something like that will work better with the more people we have of varying experience levels. We will need more people who have obviously finished said raid enough to be able to confidently teach it to a bunch of people of varying experience levels. I think like though our numbers have gotten bigger, I don't know if they're that big, but more importantly, I don't know if the numbers of people who are in this Discord are active in chats enough to uh, begin, a bunch of channels for that sort of thing. I do like the idea of it though. We did something vaguely similar to that where the guys would leave. They'd say they'll post like, you guys like had three. You went for like three raids, and then you'll say like vote for the one you want to do A, B, and C. And let's just say, for example, people voted B the most, so it's okay. We're going to do Scourge the Past. Then you'll vote for the day, and then you'll vote for the time. And I, I never got the chance to actually partake in them myself, but I can't comment on how successful they were. But maybe going like, how do we feel about going back to that?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just making. We just need to make sure that we have people that are willing to host them. Um,
So,
if we have people that are willing to host them, it'll be a lot easier to make this happen. That's the hardest part, though, is having somebody whose experience is willing to take the time to then create the event and make sure that it happens every time. Um, if we do this, these things will work out, but we need to make sure that we get to that point in order for those to essentially come to fruition. But we can't make it work without starting. And I think that's a good way to start about it. but we will need some people to step up and be like, hey, because someone has to volunteer to do it and to take the lead.
So that'll actually segue into the next part, where obviously the biggest shortage here is having people who are willing to just kind of take on the responsibility of running one raid a week. If we get a chunk of people who are willing to run one raid a week, then it shouldn't be that hard to fill in the player base from there. And if we create sort of a concentrated effort to start disseminating among maybe some of the officers and some of the more dedicated players, um, just making sure that everybody kind of knows all the raids within sort of the more core membership, and get them willing to step up and play the kind of job of raid leaders.
Almost doing like a training for the people that would be running it. So kind of
To
doing a
some
preemptive
extent,
raid.
yeah.
They would
So
be
go and
basically
do it all
coaches.
together,
Yeah.
and some people there might not know it, but they're willing to help learn and teach other people.
Right.
And can
And
do
and
like
that's the
a
thing
learning
is,
raid,
I
like
know
a
we
training,
absolutely
and
have people in here
then we can schedule something out.
who are willing to learn the mechanics and then pass that information on. So if we can get a couple of those people to step up, I'm sure we have plenty of people here. I'm not particularly myself a huge raid guy. I'd like to start getting into it, but I've always gotten stuck with, I don't want to say second-rate players, but I've gotten stuck with players who didn't particularly care to listen, and it's happened to me several times to the point where I just don't care to play through a raid if I can't even get 2 words in edgewise, and I'm saying something over and over again and people aren't hearing what I say. And I've seen this with different groups and things just going over people's heads. So I think we need to get a couple of our core people together who perhaps have an interest in ensuring that raids happen every week.
I'm
So
willing to
let
help
me
and
let me go
help
ahead and
with that,
actually
but I don't know how to do them is the problem.
snag a list
Like
here, because here's what I'm gonna do: is I would like we'll start with the people in here, and then we'll outsource it sort or open it up to the wider public who haven't showed up for the meeting tonight. After the meeting, so who here would be willing to set aside, some piece of time on the same day, or at least once a week, to run a raid? Ignore what you do or don't know about the raid. We can get you taught and up to speed with the raid and how to teach people the raid. Who here would be willing to put in the weekly effort?
I'm willing to do that. I did it a little bit before and I enjoyed helping people learn, but I'm in the boat that I don't know anything about the new stuff, so I need some training if I'm able to help.
That's fine. We'll organize a training program. Anybody else?
Yeah,
I'm
pretty much.
willing to try, but I'm not. At the moment, at least in the next week or so, I'm completely free to try it at least once. But I'm in a process right now where I'm going to be switching through jobs, so I have absolutely no idea what my time schedule is going to be like later down the road. So I can adjust accordingly, but all I can say is like I'm willing to be like a guinea pig for this once I'm
Okay.
brought up to speed on how the raids work, or at least how all of them. I've only completed one ever.
I'm willing to help. In my last clan, when I played on Xbox, I did Sherpa some raids. What I could do is on Tuesday nights or Saturday nights, one of the two. You guys decide. Essentially, I could start out with Leviathan, and then we can run through all the raids in order, and then that way everybody kind of gets up to speed on all of them.
Okay. And that's the other
For
thing too, is if
one,
we can start once. I mean, obviously, some people you're in fluctuating schedules will figure it out. But if you're the kind of person who works the kind of job where you do have a solid, kind of reliable, non-changing schedule, If you can tell us what days work best for you, that'll also help us to sort of plan. That way, maybe one group is, or one of you is running a Tuesday raid, one of you is running a Thursday raid, one of you is running a Saturday raid, and we get everybody together on one big day or whatever to run the initial training. We'll make that work. But once you're all trained and up to speed in the raids, for those of you who need it, then we turn around and we kind of say, okay, you're going to run raids on this day, you're going to run raids on this day. And then if we've got enough people doing that, I think it should be pretty easy to bring people up to speed. And then once we have this new generation, because a lot there we did pick up a fair number of new light players as well. So if we can get this sort of new generation brought up to speed with the rest of us, then it just becomes a process of committing to going, hey, let's make sure that we run a raid on this day every week, and this day every week, and this day every week. And then people will just flood into whichever one is running.
I think it's definitely something that can work, but it'll take time. It'll take a lot of trial and error, but the idea is there. I think it's worth trying. I'll also throw out there that the ones who are willing to do this, I'm if I ever get a chance to do it, I'm going to personally be streaming it, and I'll post it in the Discord. That's a thing that's allowed for like players who may not be able to put the time in to actually do the raid, but at least watch or maybe like have some questions and post it on chat. And if that becomes a thing, I also recommend that other coaches
Yeah,
or
I'd very
would-be
much do the
coaches try that
same.
too.
So we definitely have all the tools at our disposal. We just have to figure out how they fit together. So
And who knows? Like if it starts working out with just raids, it could also stretch out to other smaller things, like less serious things, like menagerie, for example. Because I
absolutely.
guarantee there will probably be at least a dozen or so players here who will hop into the menagerie and just be like, "What the fuck's going on?"
And
Yeah,
I'd like
even
to
Crucible and Gambit.
I'd like to point out to everybody that this is in no way saying that this is the only way for us to do raids. This is creating a more organized effect that may develop into actual semi-permanent raid teams as well, depending on how people's time zones and things work out and how well everybody kind of meshes with each other. But there's no reason that you can't pick up an off day when nobody's raiding and see if you can put together a kind of pick up and play ad hoc group. That's still always on the table. We're never taking any sense of player freedom off the table. I don't even know how we would enforce that if we wanted to, which we don't. But I do want to make sure that everybody understands that just because we're finding an organized way to do things doesn't mean that the usual impromptu, spontaneous stuff goes away. In fact, I'd like to think it would become more common as everybody starts to learn all the raids because um, I suppose with among the officers, the core players, and command, the goal is to help disseminate the information to get people capable and efficient at raiding. And then everybody can raid kind of whenever they want and do so more effectively. Does that jive with pretty much what everybody was thinking here?
Yeah,
I think
I second
vaguely
that.
we're all thinking of
Yeah,
like
agreed.
something various versions of like kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of tie all the loose ends back together and make sure everything was understood by everybody. Did we have right now? I've got Coda, Potato Jim, Rogue Star. Did anybody else want to step up as a potential raid lead?
Yeah, I
I
don't
could
mind.
probably get into that for a little while until I start working.
And I don't mind getting in on it as well.
All right. So that adds Public Cactus and Novasef X.
Once I get
That
more
is exactly how
comfortable,
it's.
once I understand the raid a little better, I don't mind leading as well. I mean, I just haven't gotten into it yet.
Yeah, no, I'm in a similar boat myself. I can go and learn raids. I'm not stupid, so I can go watch a video and pretty much learn the mechanics to a raid. They're actually quite enlightening. but having somebody hands-on to help teach you is helpful. Um, so I should go ahead and obviously for everybody here, as we said, you don't have to know the raid now. We will put together groups and we will teach you one at a time how each raid is done, and maybe if anybody here has a particular skill set with it, try to show you some of the better ways to teach others. But for the most part, a raid should be as simple as passing on what you know. So we will take our more experienced players. I know we have Livid and we have Hacks. We have, I think Clytor's got some experience with raids. We definitely have
Yeah,
people
I've done all of
here
them.
who are fairly experienced with either a good chunk of, if not all of the raids, who can act as, I suppose, a teacher's teacher. So there's no reason we can't get some people together and work out a rotation to run this raid and have, like I said, have Hacks or Clytor or Livid or anybody who would like to step up who knows what they're doing. Teach those of us who are willing to step up once we know what we're doing, and then kind of spread from there, and maybe it becomes a sort of snowball effect, sort of exponential increase in the raid knowledgeability of the group. So
No, it makes sense to me. I mean, I'm, if you want to put me down as well, then I'd be more than willing to learn the rest of the raids and help where I can. I mean, the one I definitely know I still remember off to the heart of my ability would be Leviathan for sure.
of course.
I still know one I know too.
I love
I mean,
how to this
it's
day
impossible to forget that one.
Yeah, but I love how to this day it remains one of the more complicated raids.
Honestly, the only thing that's complicated about it is just the lack of communication. If there isn't communication, you
Yep.
don't succeed.
And that's why every time I've gone
That's
in to
sometimes
do it,
the
I've
hardest
had to
part.
leave the group has either been time restraints because of the piss poor communication and people not doing what they're told, or frustration from piss poor communication.
Don't jump over the plates as they jump over.
Man, like no joke, the first time I did Leviathan, I was using the Bungie app, the Fire Team extension on it, and half of that raid was just some 14-year-old complaining about the fact that we all have better gear than he did because he couldn't afford Forsaken. So
Moving right along.
if raids cannot be like that, then I'd be a happy teacher.
I mean, I'm more than willing to deal with progressions, help people get the gear they need and stuff like that. I have no problem, grinding and beating my head into a boss. But I mean, everyone has their.
If you have people that are actually willing to learn, it's not too bad, but you got to weed those out. And that's where I think it'll be nice to have someone be taking a lead on it and saying, hey, we're going to get a group together and I'm going to help make sure that we can get through this, show you the videos, things like that. If we get it structured and organized, I think it will work out really well.
All right. I think we definitely have a plan going forward to ensure a more effective use of our time playing Destiny, and to see larger completion percentages for people trying to get the raid done. And obviously, we'll go in, we'll figure this out, we'll get all the kinks ironed out, and it's a system that can very easily be exported to anything else we plan to do. So, I think overall, this was probably one of the more productive parts of the meeting. And this is the kind of thing I want to see at meetings a bit more as an aside. Are these productive talks to address the weak points in our current way of doing things? That's why I don't just record a speech reporting on the current state of things and post it up and go, okay, everybody go watch the thing, go listen to me bluster on like an asshole for several hours. Boring. I'd much rather have people here present and offering the feedback that the group needs to adapt and improve. So I'd like to thank everybody who showed up today and who did contribute to this meeting. We have like 20 people in the chat right now, by the way.
That's awesome.
I thought everybody might like to know if that's not our largest state of the
No, that's
empire, it's
probably
gotta be within the top 3. We might have clicked like 22 or something at some point. So I'm really liking a lot of our new people. I know I haven't gotten to speak with a whole lot of you on a very in-depth level yet, but I'm liking the activity and the sense of dedication to the group and to the game that I'm seeing from a lot of our newer guys. So absolutely keep that up. I think I speak for probably all of us here when I say that. All right, don't everybody affirm my statement at once.
Sorry, man. I'm taking care of a boss.
Yeah, go get it.
Yeah.
Woo!
I only seem
And
to
they
be able
fall
to
in
stir
like.
up their autistic personalities more.
I like tacos.
Just like Second Life.
Oh,
I
God.
completely forgot
Oh,
I have a
geez,
keybind
Second
for
Life.
push to talk on this, so I was trying to say something, but I forgot push to talk is on. Yeah.
I can just be the hype man and woo after everything else. Say,
Please don't do that.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Hey, that actually reminds me. Name barrel, my guy. Go into border and enter the fucking command to get into the clan.
Oh, yeah, I forgot he didn't do that yet.
He's done everything else. He's registered on the website. He's at the meeting. He's talking in the chat. Bro, go. It's 4 technically 4 fucking characters. Go up, type it. You're done.
what was it? Exclamation point something?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's laid out by the bot. Let me ask you this: what's your time zone?
EST.
Okay, you know what? Go type exclamation point 2ND. Because I know they've got like 2 or 3 open spots, so you can actually still squeeze into the second right now.
Imagine
There we
having
go.
the full clan.
They're at 97 people, dude. They're basically
Wow,
full.
97.
The first is at 94 right now. I've lost 4 people due to I can't access my Steam account or Bungie. So this is great.
That's a feels bad.
That's a feels bad. Yeah, I've lost 4 recruitments just because I don't remember passwords.
Actually, I'm gonna call you right now. It's 81 in the First Legion. Nice
It's
try.
81. All right.
It's 81.
All right. Good to know.
You got 19 more people to recruit to fill up.
Still, though, that.
Keep in mind, you did hemorrhage a few members moving over to the 4th, so. But I think things are going well all around. I'm glad that we're able to sit here, get together, and address our shortcomings and start patching them up. I'd still like some people to step up from each legion and tell me what they think they'd be able to contribute so that we can start filling in some NCO positions and make sure the legions are more or less self-sufficient.
Well, I can help Jim if anything is needed for the right organization. Taking from the 4th Legion.
Yeah, we mostly just been learning together at this stage because we're both European, but our legion's very, very, very small, so that's going to take some time.
Yep. Young there. I hope.
All right.
All right.
That's
That's
oh god. All right.
It's got
That
the
was-
unbearable echo.
That was interesting. Oh, it's over now. I think he corrected it. I'm gonna go ahead and say we're 55 minutes in. We've had, I think, a very productive discussion. Did anybody have anything else they'd like to bring to the floor tonight?
Chief's autistic.
Anything you?
I like potatoes.
Anything productive.
I agree. Productive.
I just want to
Like,
say I'm
yes, I
glad that
get it.
everyone is here.
Knowing how
So
to
thank you
potato is
guys
very
for showing up.
productive, but
What once again, you can hit up me, Frodo, or Tom if you want to be big boy CO for the first. So that's all.
He means it when he says big boy, by the way. You gotta be fat.
Oh,
I'm
jeez,
actually
I'm
quite
far from
skinny, so
fat.
Yeah, which is why you couldn't hack it.
damn,
Fire.
damn.
Oh,
Well,
got him! No,
damn.
I'm kidding, dude. You know that.
It looks like you're gonna have to stay CEO now just to prove him wrong. Glidor noises.
Basically. Personally, I blame Livid.
I mean, always when in doubt, blame Livid.
All right. So, with that being said, it sounds like we've squeezed far more productivity than I could ever expect from you autists in one night.
I resent that statement.
You
I need to
resemble.
sleep for a week
You resemble that statement. So, once again, I'd like to thank everybody for attending. And
But I'm not chibi.
You can both
I
be
will end
autistic.
you.
I just joined, but I'm glad I was part of it for the small time I was here.
Yes. Here's your participation ribbon.
Yeah, nice.
Yay, autism.
But were you guys having like a clan meeting or something?
Oh yeah,
I
we do
noticed
this.
it,
We do
but it
this
was
every Saturday from 8 to whenever.
yeah, cause it's like 3 o'clock in the morning here.
Yeah, I know it's unfortunate, but the bulk of our membership is still mostly based out of Western Hemisphere, so we got to do with what we can do with.
That's why we also record it.
Yes, all of this is live streamed, and you can review it at any time from YouTube. I will get everybody a link to that, actually. Let's see. Where? I'm going to drop it. Nope, that's not it. Son of... There we are. So with that being said, for the final time, despite the concentrated autism, thank you all. Great and productive meeting. And whoever feels like sticking around because it's not however many hours past your bedtime, after party.
Hey.
Beyond that, long live the Empire.
For the Empire.
For the Empire.
For turtles.